Men Is Everything Okay podcast. I'm your host, Ope, and joining in on the conversation today, we have...
Yeah, hi, my name is Ola. I'm a friend of the host. I'm married 7 years. I have 2 children, 2 daughters, and I think I'm a man that's okay, but who knows?
Hi guys, I'm Latoya. I am 36 years old. I am currently in a 15-year relationship. I have one daughter who is 13 years old.
Hi guys, hi everyone. My name's Yemi. I'm friends with the host. She stole my name. And yeah, we work together and have some acquaintances in common as well. I am married, been married for 5 years.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrea. I am a working mum of 3 children. I have got 2 boys and a daughter.
Hi guys, my name is Jide. I'm a father of 2. I've been in a midterm relationship, which is over a year or so. And I'm here just to hear different points of views.
Everyone say hi.
Hi.
So today we're going to be talking about maintaining relationships whilst in quarantine. So due to the lockdown, a lot of relationships will be either spending a lot of time together or a lot of time apart. So I just want to know how long-term relationships are being affected by social distancing.
How can I say it? I think when you're spending so much time with someone, you can either drive them away from you or closer to you. And I think in my situation, how can I say it? I think what we're trying to do is stick to a routine. What we're used to, for instance, Monday to Friday, we go to work and then we come back, and then that's when we sort of regroup, rejoin, and spend our evenings together, spend the weekend together. So what we're trying to do is we work from home, obviously, and we kind of just work separately. So we stick to our routine of working separately. So my wife does her thing, I do my thing. I do my workouts as well. I go for a walk sometimes by myself, but we regroup in the evening. We're trying to just keep things, separate, but then also coming together when the time is right. What we're learning as well is we're just spending more time talking as well. I've realized how much I wasn't speaking, I wasn't expressing myself in our marriage and our relationship. So it's like we're forced now. It's almost like the lockdown has forced people to have a time of introspection, a time of talking, reflection as well. Like since we have nowhere to go, I can't just say I need to go out and lick my boyfriend because I'm indoors. I'm not going nowhere. So I'm indoors. So I'm kind of forced to face certain issues individually and issues collectively with the missus.
It's for me personally, it's I would say it's probably brought us closer. I thought, to be honest, he would annoy me a lot more, but it's been all right.
That's what my wife said about me.
It's actually been all right, and we've not even been arguing, so it's actually been all right.
So what is the secret? Why would you say that? Although you thought that he would annoy you, and like you said, Yemi, you thought your wife thought that you would annoy her. What would you say is the reason why you don't feel so annoyed? Is it because the love has come back, or you actually genuinely enjoy each other's company?
Yeah, I think what it is, I genuinely enjoy his company, and also he goes to work as well. But to be honest, it was like this before anyway.
So has anything changed in your household? Would you say there's been any changes?
Yeah, my daughter being here in my face constantly. Me being at work and coming in the evenings and stuff. I think I was stressed out, and I would take out my stress on the household when I get in the evenings, and it would make us argue and stuff. But I think because I'm less stressed, to know that maybe that's why.
Yeah, Latoya, I kind of agree with that actually. I was gonna make the comment that within our house, I think I found it's helped in that it's given both of us a greater appreciation for each other and what we do around the house and at work. So, you know, I work quite hard in my job, and sometimes telling someone that and them seeing you come home late but not really seeing what you do and what you're doing, it's kind of still, especially for mothers who are kind of bathing the kids, getting ready for bed. It's like, okay, yeah, you're out there with your colleagues and stuff. Who knows? You could have gone to drink after work or whatever you could have done, and then you're coming home, and I'm, you know. But then now she's seeing what I'm doing. I'm even working from home. I'm working till 11 p.m. sometimes. It gives her a greater appreciation of what I'm doing and kind of how I'm doing it, and I think she appreciates me more than kind of making assumptions as to what I may be doing or not doing or avoiding, you know. And the same way, I have a great appreciation of her and kind of seeing the things she does, and she still goes to work and comes back and does other things, and that it's given me a greater ability to understand what she does and help. Whereas before, I wouldn't have that same knowledge and appreciation. I can now do that, especially around childcare. So I think we found it's definitely been a good thing, and also it's enabled me to listen more, because sometimes, like Latoya was saying, I come home from work, I'm tired. I don't have the energy to listen to what anyone's got to say. You know my wife, anybody, even God. Like, bad. I don't have time. I need to sleep. I need to recalibrate. I need to refocus. I need to do so many things. Like, and I think this time together has given the time to actually listen to her, the things that concern her, her worries, her hopes, her plans, her all these different things that I before I kind of knew about, but I didn't intimately engage with. I'm not able to do that, and I think that's been a real positive. And I think she's openly expressed that appreciation for that. So I think these are things that are definitely benefits I think have come out of lockdown.
You to slow down and be present. Would you say that?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. It's allowed me to not really slow down, because I've actually said I've probably gone faster, but I know what you mean by slow down. But it's meant that I can go fast in front of her, then going fast somewhere else. And therefore, she kind of sees me working, and I see her working and doing other things. And then because I'm not having to travel into work and back home, we then have that flexible time just during the day to just catch up on. Like, I'm hearing her conference calls with her friends, of stuff she's doing. She's hearing my conference calls, and we can talk about them intimately. Than having to explain someone to something third hand they don't have intimate knowledge about. They're then questioning you, trying to help you, but then you're like,
Allah,
I'm having to explain things.
Allah is just that added, you know, that no, that thing where if a tree falls down in a forest and no one's around,
Right.
it's that
It's
added,
something like
you
that.
know,
Yeah, exactly.
people
You know,
don't tend to listen to you saying things. I
right.
work in IT. I work in a very pressurized industry,
Mm,
dealing with blue chip companies, and I'm not being funny. If a system is down, they're losing minutes. I
yeah,
mean millions per
yeah,
hour,
yeah.
like big business.
Mm,
So I deal with high pressure. So sometimes when I come home, my partner, before the corona thing, she wouldn't understand where
hmm.
I would say I need my moment. I need to depressurize.
Right.
I'm not one to go to the pub. I'm not a drinky person. But
No.
when I get home, I need my own space for like half an hour, 45 minutes. Let me just watch a
Hmm.
program that I like watching, to just not think of
Exactly.
anything, before then I can interact with you in a way where I'm of more benefit to
More
you.
useful. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
Because,
now,
yeah.
you know, now, like, just dovetailing what you're saying, I think what you're saying is spot on. Because now
Mm.
she sees that, and she's like, okay, she sees me getting stressed. She's like, okay, I'm gonna take a step back now, but now I know why you're stressed, and I see why you're stressed. So now I'm gonna take a step back rather than just like, why are you stressed? You know,
Yeah.
kind of. Like, I don't watch Netflix till 7:30 most days at home. 'Cause I just can't. But now she sees that. We're thinking he's working from home. He's probably got his feet up. You know what I'm saying? That's not what's happening. So yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. Yeah.
I live similarly, and now she's like, I couldn't do your job. I could not do your
Right.
job. And I'm like, yeah, you see it now because it's visually right there in front of her. So yeah, it's understanding is one thing that you can gain from this whole quarantine.
Understanding, yeah.
We in the house, we do our own thing. So I would go in the bedroom and be reading my book, and he would be in the living room playing FIFA, I don't know. And my daughter, she would be in her room like doing her homework, and we're away from each other for maybe like 2 hours. So I think that's important as well, to have your own separate space. Like, just because you live together doesn't mean you have to constantly be in the same room and constantly be interacting with each other and constantly have conversation. I feel like you do need your own space as well.
You know, how do you find the balance of when you speak different languages? Like you said, I think it was you, DJ, you said that how there are times where you just want to have your own space. And if your partner, specifically women, tend to want to have like quality time, or they might even really just want to, you know, talk at some point. How do you find that balance between, do you know what, right now I need space, how I know how you feel, but I don't want to offend you, and that person want to make you feel uncomfortable because you don't want to feel smothered. How do you find that balance?
I'll be quite honest with you guys. It was a problem in our relationship to start with. I'm in a relationship with practically my best friend. Like, she is literally my best friend in life. So we go from, or I can go from, I've got a lot of time for you, we talk, we can talk about anything, to then when I come back from work, she doesn't live with me, but she stays with me a lot. So she practically lives with me. So at the beginning stages, it was a bit hard for us to get that balance, because it actually used to cause quite a little bit of tension, because she's very affectionate, and I'm not affectionate, but I'm not at her level. Like, and it can sometimes be a bit smothering, because I was the only child for 12 years. I brought up my younger brothers, and I was on my own. So I'm used to my own company. In fact, I like it a lot. And I have to work on not liking it too much, and being open for someone else to be in my space. That being said, I am very welcoming and opening in that sense, I think. But it's something that I consciously have to make time for her. But what this quarantine has actually taught us is that I didn't know why I effectively had that issue, per se, if you want to call it issue, that I genuinely need to decompress, especially after a hard day's work. But during this quarantine time, she can see the stress. She can see the type of work I am. And to touch on the point that Ola was making, is once someone sees the kind of life you're living and the kind of pressures you're under, they ease off, especially if they're not a selfish person.
I think for me, I think at first, I'm in a way, I'm getting used to it a little bit because we've been in quarantine for a while. But I think initially it was very difficult for me, because we went from seeing each other probably maybe 3 or 4 times a week to not seeing each other at all. So yeah, it has been difficult for me in a lot of ways. But at the same time, was it Jide? He was saying that he's very much someone who likes his own space. I'm like that as well. So I think that there is that struggle for me with trying to make time to, you know, still speak to my boyfriend, you know, checking on him, make sure he's okay. I know it sounds kind of bad. You know, I've got 3 children. I've actually got 2 under 3s as well. And I've got a 14-year-old. So the younger ones, they really do take it out of me during the daytime. So, you know, they go to bed probably about 7:30. By that time, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I don't want to talk on the phone.
Right.
I'm working from home. My job is pretty much talking to 40 plus customers a day. I work for an energy company in the call center. So when I'm finished, I don't want to talk to anyone. Even my boyfriend sometimes, which sounds really bad. So I think that has caused a little bit of problems as well. He might just think, oh, that, you know, and just sort of blowing him off. I don't want to talk to him. It's just, I'm tired and I'm trying to juggle boyfriend, children, and then also finding time for myself and just to keep my sanity in quarantine, whether it's just gin on Netflix or TV or whatever it is, you know. So
what advice will you give to people who like to spend more time with each other but are unable to do that?
yeah, I would say that you have to get creative as well with, you know, so for us, we do a lot more video calls now, you know, with each other so we can see each other. Don't know if you guys are on House Party, but there's a few games on there as well. So we do some of the little quizzes and just keep it fun. We've even watched TV shows together, just literally video call, got the phone there, he's there, just watching something together. So just to keep it creative. I think the only way that people will really make it through quarantine, being in a relationship and not being able to see each other, is really making sure that the connection and the communication is as strong as ever.
You said something about not being able to have date night. What do you do to compensate that?
Even though we can't have date nights, because one thing we were trying to do before is have, it wasn't always working, but we had a day or two a month at least where we were having date nights, where we were going out and making sure that we enjoyed ourselves. I don't know whether it was going to the restaurant or whatever. But since we're indoors, what we're doing now is we're just having the movie nights, just like a theme. So with the theme right now is just watching old school films like from the 90s, Love and Basketball, we watched that the other day. Love Jones is going to be the next one, Brown Sugar, all of those old school films, if you don't remember. We're just reminiscing over those films and just, it's like we're restarting our relationship. Even on the PS4, I play the PS4. I'm going to start getting her to play FIFA 20 as well with me, just trying to do as much stuff. I know it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bro, even if it's not FIFA 20, just something that we can both play together.
What about the rest of you? Do you all try to do like date in now? You can call it date in.
No, I haven't tried at all. Like, we actually haven't tried. We just do day to day, take each day as it comes. But actually, what we do, what Yemi said, is have movie night. So we'll do a movie night. Other nights we're trying include my daughter as well. So do like maybe family ones that she can watch.
Like everybody here has like, it's like your relationships have gotten closer. So what about people who feel like they're gonna wring each other's necks? What advice will you give them?
I mean, thankfully, we haven't yet been in that position to that level yet. I mean, but I do know of people that have been under a lot of stress due to this lockdown, and some of it is due to financial reasons. So obviously, people have been furloughed, particularly people that are self-employed are finding it difficult, and that's putting strains on relationships as well.
Yeah.
Going shopping, having to queue up for hours, all these things that it seems all of us here, thankfully, and thank God, aren't necessarily struggling with, but there are people out there who are, you know, worried about next month's salary, next month's paycheck, next month's deal, next month's invoice for their businesses and whatnot. And that combined with everything else, not being able to go for a walk, or being able to go shopping easily, or go cinema, or go bowling, or just do something different, go to a restaurant, all these different things you can do, go see friends, that often relieve stress and can set you apart. I think it's put a lot of strain. And, you know, from talking about solutions for those kind of couples out there who might be listening to us or whatnot, I mean, my best solution based on my year of marriage is talk it out. And doesn't matter how ugly it gets, doesn't matter how brutal it gets, talk it out. Because if you hold things down and you try and hide everything to yourself, particularly guys, you know, we're naturally guy we're not very expressive, I'll accept. And I think we need to be. And sometimes we don't want to look like we're failing, or we're not winning, or we're not on top, or we're not in control, or we can't handle it. And we don't want to look lesser to our partners, to our wives, or others, significant others, partners. But we need to understand that in many ways, being vulnerable and being open to that vulnerability is actually a means of looking stronger and strengthening your relationship. Even if it feels like it weakens you a little bit, together, it makes you both stronger, which is better than just you feeling like you're strong when really things aren't. It's almost a misperception of yourself and your relationship. So always, I think, open up to your spouse. If there are financial difficulties, let them know. Don't front it out, because that just adds to the stress, and then the stress compounds. It's like interest, like compounding interest. It just comes one thing on top of another. Then the bill comes, then you've got another bill. Like, it's just everything compounds, and you get more stressed, which puts more strain in your relationship, and everything just kind of can fall apart that way. So better to go from the beginning before things snowball. Just say, look, here's what's happening. Here's what they've said at work. Here's what's happening in the business. We're not going to get this money this month. We need to make a new plan. We might need to borrow. We might need to cut back. We might need to chop this off. All these things we need to do, rather than trying to kind of play happy-go-lucky, everything's fine, and it's not. And then when things hit the fan, everyone's looking back thinking, oh, here's where it went wrong, here's where it went wrong, when you could have just really addressed it from the start. That's what I would suggest.
I think also it's important to pick and choose the timing of when you want to get things off your chest, because obviously you know your other half very well. So you know when's the right time to say certain things, because often what causes arguments, I find as well, is because you want to get something off your chest. You think, right, I'm going to just talk to my partner, but your partner might not be in that headspace at that time. So, you know, you, like you mentioned, you might want to talk about like some financial strain that might be coming up, or you can't afford a certain bill when you need to talk to your partner, but maybe your partner is not in the headspace at that time. But like I said, you know your partner, and you can read your partner if it's that right time. So I think it's important to pick and choose when to communicate with your partner.
What about if your partner does not want to communicate about something at all? How do you go about that? You know, in as much as it being wise to pick and choose when to communicate, if your partner does not want to communicate at all, specifically about, you know, I think Ola mentioned about bills or things piling up, those things can be quite difficult to speak about, because, you know, the pressure's on you, and specifically for men, generally, you take a lot of that pressure on financially. And like you said, you might feel like you're failing in the relationship if you're not able to, you know, fulfill those requirements that you've put on yourself. What about if your partner doesn't necessarily really want to talk about specific things that need to be addressed? Like, when is that right time? How do you communicate or address that situation in order for it to be resolved?
Yeah, that's a good one, because if they don't want to talk about at all, then there's a communication breakdown. Like, why are you not communicating with me? Like, because at some point, because like what you said, it is financial, so it affects the household. When it affects the household, then it's a whole different story. Then you have to talk about it at some point.
But sometimes you can't you're not necessarily able to really force someone to address specific things. Like with you guys, it seems like communication is very easy. It flows very naturally between you and your spouses. But what about spouses who are unable to communicate effectively, who are struggling to have a genuine dialogue? Like,
Effective communication for me, comes down to quite a few things, but more so it's about emotional maturity, and it's on both sides. Okay, so I would say from the ages of say 28 onwards, I think that's when they say a man starts to mature emotionally. I found it hard to communicate with any partner that I was with. So this is something that I've had to learn in the last, say, decade or so, is to learn to be an effective communicator, be able to get my point across without being brutal. Like, I used to think if I was just being honest, that was enough, you know, and never tempered how I delivered things, or never really cared about how that person might feel or might take it. So it's about
what changed.
What changed? Past relationships. You live and you learn from mistakes. I'm the sort of person, if something doesn't work, or if my job by nature is to fault find, just the way I am. So I'm a very open-minded person, and I'm always open to try to learn things. I think I started the podcast saying that, and it's very true to my character. So as far as learning to communicate, it's something that I work on a daily basis. It's not something you just, oh, I've mastered it now and you move on. I learn something new about my partner every day. And some of them are good and I love it and I'm all immersed in it. And some of them are bad and I'm like, oh, God damn, help me. What am I going to tell her without like making it sound the worst thing in the world, or make it sound unjudgmental? Because that's the other thing. If you point out something to someone, more time their guards are up, because it's almost like a personal attack.
Yeah.
Where more times I've learned, I'm just trying to talk to you. Yeah. I'm not saying you need to do this or to do that. Let's even start the dialogue so we can understand why things happen, whichever way it happens, and it could be back to me on why I do certain things. But it's having that base in your relationship where you feel comfortable that you can talk to your partner very openly and very candidly, and both of you being in a space where you know you're not being attacked. So a secure environment, I would say. Yeah. You know,
what would you say is the best approach for women to address something with you?
I like to think I'm very open-minded, and I like to think I am receptive to points of views, because like I said, I'm not the kind of person that does like to learn from people. So I'm very open. So you have to be open.
Words would you prefer not to hear to when she addresses a situation?
I think like Latoya was saying earlier, the timing, and also I think it's about the delivery as well. So the message could be of a certain nature. My wife's trying to tell me something, and that's fine. I'm open. I'm not a touchy-feely person either. But if the delivery comes from an aggressive place or just an antagonistic place, and the timing is wrong as well, let's say we've already had a disagreement and then you bring up something that happened last week, how I didn't turn the light off somewhere or squeeze the toothpaste from the middle, and there was some sort of aggression behind it, then that's usually going to lead to an argument.
Yeah.
So I think it's not necessarily about the words, it's just the dynamics, the timing, and also the delivery. That's from my perspective anyway. That's what I've done.
And also, you know your partner. You know when your partner's being a bit spicy. You do. You know it. You can tell, I know what you meant by that. You can say it all nicely and polite, but if you're dropping,
you know behind, you know
when he's sending shots for you. You know.
Yeah.
Because I think the approach is really important, and I think having a degree of humility as well. I think when people are able to come together and admit that they're flawed, then I think that helps a lot. And I think sometimes, and men and women have different approaches to things generally, but to kind of being able to say, you know what, I was wrong to approach things this way. This is the reason why I reacted like this. And then the person's far more, at least my wife and in my experience, relationships, it's far more likely to be receptive to what you're saying, because you've already come from a position of below than coming from above, so to speak. Like, you're giving up the moral high ground, you're giving up the correct, I'm in the right, and I'm just coming to tell you that. It's more a case of, okay, we're both got points. Both our points are valid. Both our points are respectable. And then that often tends to end things better. And also what you touched on as well there, which was about sometimes there's a loaded tone, is what I call it. It's loaded. So it's like the little things that have happened, like you're talking about toothpaste, like little things that have happened in the past that are all coming together, and then that one thing triggers it, and then the actual issue is more than just that one event. It's a series of things.
Absolutely.
Like, all coming out there, and then those series of things aren't really addressed. You've addressed what's happened, you haven't addressed why that reaction came about in relation, you know. So then it's not necessarily all closed off like it should be. So yeah, I think dealing with and this is actually, if I'm being honest, this is more me, where I've kind of maybe spun off a little bit based on a series of things, and it's just kind of gone, that didn't come from just what I just said, that came from somewhere else. And I'm like, actually, yeah, it came from this, it came from that, and it came from that.
Yeah.
And like, oh, okay, wow, okay, now it's real. Like now we're talking, you know, and it makes me feel better because it's like, okay. And she said to me, like, if I'm doing something, like we've talked about, tell me straight, like, this is what happened, like this way, so that way it doesn't build up. You're holding it down, and then something triggers it, and then it's like boom.
Yeah.
And that works for women too. So
Allah, me and my partner we've got a thing right now where we're saying to each other, if I've done something, tell me right away.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Tell me right away.
Yeah.
Because you holding that grudge, it festers.
Yeah.
It festers,
turns
bro.
into something worse than it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I would want my boyfriend to approach me in a way that I would approach him, just with respect and the right delivery. And that's it. I think, you know, for most people, they will be receptive to hearing what someone has to say if the delivery and the approach is right, you know.
So are there any like trigger points that you would say that you'd rather not hear, you know, in terms of how you're being addressed? Is there certain ways that you would say that you address?
I've got some. What I would say for me is if I hear stuff like, "This is what you always do,"
or attack immediately.
Those kind of. You feel me? Yes. Jide, you felt that one.
That's the one to the chest.
Chill me chest. Yeah, that is yeah, she's going for the jugular.
That's the trigger for me. That is the trigger for me. And that's in fact, you know what, that's all I want to say.
That's the thing about you.
Yeah. Yeah. Those kind of do you know what? To me, what
that's
that
the thing about you.
Yeah.
That's the one. Oh, look. I'll be like, what's the thing? What's the thing? Tell me now. I want to know. What's that thing? Look, I'll be honest with you guys. We've spent, I'm not even over exaggerating when I say half of this bank holiday, 4-day weekend we had, half of it we spent talking. I kid you not. We've been talking. But we've been a lot closer. But what we've come out of this is we've identified, because there's certain things I think we're okay. I think we're great. And then she'll just come with a haymaker out of nowhere. I didn't like that. And you're like, wait, that happened 2 months ago. And you've been holding that in your chest. She's like, well, I didn't know how to tell you, and I didn't want to upset you. And then, but now you've made it something worse than it was, because if you spoke to me 2 months ago, I would have broke it down to you, and it's not even that big of an issue, and it's not what you thought it was. So effective communication, as it happens, is what we're finding out about each other. And I don't think it would have taken us this long or so quickly if it wasn't for the quarantine.
Do you think that men are better at self-accountability than women?
You're pudding now.
And Latoya said, yeah. I just asked the question. And
I
Latoya already said, yeah.
What that
Dre looks like she's not sure.
I don't understand it. Ola,
Oh, you might need to elaborate.
Part of it, don't you? You understand it.
What do you
Opulence just stirring the pot. She's stirring the pot. That's it.
guys, it's what
what do
to
you-
clarity. You see.
So who wants to go first, girls? Both of you are just looking. Who wants to go first?
I
Yeah,
can only
that's a
talk
real
from my
question.
own
Person, yeah.
experience.
That's a
Yes.
real question. Allah.
I can only talk from my own experiences with my past relationships. I think that I've had a harder time at taking accountability than the guys. So just from my personal experience, I say yeah, you know.
Yeah, I agree with Andrea. It's the same with me. It's just me personally why I
It's
think,
hard.
you know.
Well, I'm going to answer something. I disagree.
Go ahead.
Please.
Go ahead.
Oh, God, no. So why do you disagree?
The reason why I disagree is because I feel like women have a bit more emotional intuition. So we're able to take some accountability for, oh, I can see your eyes.
I forgot my video was on.
What's one of you guys? I think the thing is like, I think that because guys are classified as logical thinkers, it's okay for them to say, all right, do you know what? Yeah, I'm in the wrong. And the reason why you do that is because you don't want to address the situation. So you put your hands up and say, that's it, let's stop it. But the fact of the matter is that when you're really taking accountability for what you have done, then comes a change in behavior. But when you're continuously doing something and you've said, okay, do you know what, I'm sorry for it, but then the next day you do it, or the week after, or a month later you do it, that's not taking accountability. Whereas accountability, I haven't finished yet. A woman who takes accountability, she's most likely to address the situation and try to ensure that she does not make that mistake again. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
You have to shut things down because you don't
It
want to.
makes sense, but it's wrong.
No.
Yeah, I don't agree. I mean,
Can I just say one thing? Or Jide, go through. Jide, you're gonna say
okay. Very quickly, all I'm
go
gonna
on,
say is this: it depends on the person. I don't think this is a sex thing. I don't think this is a man or woman thing. But what I will tell you is, generally speaking, depending on the type of woman we're talking of, yeah, they're used to and accustomed to a man, you know, going, let's say, bowing down or filling her up. Yeah, I don't know.
What do you mean? Can you elaborate, Ola? I mean,
Jide. Yeah. So depending on what the woman is used to in the sense of her relationship, it depends on how accountable then she would be if I was to talk about a woman. But more to my point, it's on the person, it's on who you're with, it's on the individual, yeah?
Okay.
So a man can do that too. Yeah, and a man can be that too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of men out here that women gas up as well, and they think their own thing don't smell, you know? So they don't take accountability very easily because they've never had to.
So do you feel like we play a part in our spouses not taking accountability?
Yes, of course.
Is that what it is?
People will treat you how you allow them to treat you. First and final. Yeah? People will only get away with what you allow. But I also have to touch on your to rebut your comments a little bit as well. And this is also on people, not just men. If someone is a creature of just behaving a certain way, you can't expect them to change overnight because you've had a single conversation with them. Okay? Come on. It takes a period of time. Love is patience. If you love that person, you have to be patient with them. You have to keep drumming in, and it's a bit like your kids. Anyone here that has kids, when you're talking to a child, you should tell them once. I mean, me growing up and how you growing up now are two different things. I was only told the once, but I grew up in Nigeria.
manage
Yeah.
your expectations.
So it's a different kind of, upbringing. But the point I'm making is, if you love someone and you care about them, you have to be patient with them. You have to say, oh, babes, I said that thing. And because they're stuck in their ways. They are who they are, and if they're changing because it's you.
Yeah.
They must love you. They want to change for you, because it's your needs, not their needs. They're who they are. So you have to try to come from that understanding, rather than.
I think also it is for them, because when you're in a relationship, that person is meant to bring the best out of you. So I don't think that you can just take it as it's for you. It's also for them as well.
Oh,
you're bringing.
Yeah, but
it's like you're
it's a bit of both. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, continue. Sorry.
I was just finishing there. Like it's kind of like, because you are their mirror, there's going to be certain attributes that you're going to see in them that they may not even know that they even have. So it's like, like self-awareness. You're making them more aware of who they are or what they're about.
Can I ask you a question? But do you recognize that within self when you're first being spoken to, depending on your character, generally speaking? People never really know.
If you're a reflective person, naturally you'll recognize those things. But how do you recognize it? How do you recognize it though? You will recognize an
open-minded person.
Right.
If you're an open-minded person, you're very. But let's say on average, most people, I would like to say, are not quite as open-minded. So it's hard for them to take things. So for them, they are doing it for you. It's not they won't see it's for their own benefit.
Ops. Can I just pick up on just one thing you mentioned, which is around like a guy being logical and him using that logical almost as a defense. Yeah, I'm coming for you right now. Yeah, as a defense, right, to whatever you're criticizing them of. Yeah, to say, oh yeah, okay, I acknowledge I was wrong, just to kind of shut you up and move things along, but then keep doing it. Like kind of Jids was talking about, it kind of calls for one to know that person's intention, that they actually might be acknowledging it genuinely, and their flaws as a person, particularly the older you get, the harder it is to change, means they keep doing it. So then rather than growing in frustration with them and saying, okay, why do you keep doing this and you're saying that you're wrong, maybe actually help them to change rather than criticize them for being hypocritical. So, and the second thing, how does that take away from his partner's ability to be self-critical too? Like, just because some men might fake it just to get the thing done with, shouldn't stop you from still being self-accountable.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah, that was what I was saying.
Accountability goes on both sides, for a fact.
And just to remind everyone that, lockdown is not permanent, it's temporary. It's going to end at some point. Don't look over and think the grass is always greener. Oftentimes it's not. You're not the only couple going through these issues. Loads of couples have either been through, going through, or will go through. So, it's not unique to you. You're not weird. You're not strange. It's very common. And, we're all in this journey, working this thing out.
Great stuff. I love it. I liked your ending, Ola, giving hope to people, making them aware that quarantine will not last forever and you will be set free soon.
Woohoo!
Free the people them. Free the people them.
Guys, this is my bag. I'm a hermit. I love staying in my house.
Do you know what? Quarantine. I'm usually quarantined anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Whether the government issue it or not. This is me.
This is my bag. I'm loving it.
Okay, so thank you so much, guys, for joining in on the conversation today. I really hope that.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And learned a lot from the conversation. I'm hoping that people will be able to reflect and take on some of the advice that you have provided. So yeah, thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye everyone. Take care everyone. Yeah. Bye.